Welcome to the Darkstream. Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com, and unauthorized.tv. Well, this is a little bit of a surprise one, but I wanted to jump right on the issue right away. As you know, Patreon filed a lawsuit against 72 of the bears that are currently in arbitration against them. And one of the things that we didn't know is if they were going to get around to actually serving all of these people that they were supposedly suing. And so anyhow, we just got word from one of the lawyers that the first sign of service has shown up. In fact, two of them have already shown up that I'm aware of. And so we have to assume that all 72 people on that list are going to be served. And so that factors into our response. Obviously you don't take a procedural approach and say, hey, look, these people weren't even served if they were. So Bill Hicks says, I'm one of them. 72, baby, come and get it. Exactly. What I wanted to assure all of those 72 bears, as well as everyone else, that everybody is with you. We are going to win collectively. Those who are involved, those who are not involved, those who are just supporting, etc., etc. Okay, and so don't worry about it. You're going to be contacted by lawyers who are already on top of this and who are already all over it. It kind of reminds me of this time when I was at Glam Slam, this club that Prince owned, with a group of my fellow dragons, and a guy wanted to start something. And one of my friends said, it looked almost like you had a bit of paralysis, because he was so open that you didn't know which target to go at first. And that's very much the case here. I mean, I'm not going to go into any details because, of course, there's probably going to be, unfriendly individuals watching this stream, trying to glean as much information as they can. But what I will say, some of the stuff that's just incredibly obvious, is that their terms of use bar the very sort of group action that they are currently bringing against these 72 bears. They're not bringing 72 separate actions. They're bringing one group action against 72 people, which is specifically barred to both sides. I mean, the whole reason that no one brought a class action lawsuit against Patreon is because it was barred by the terms. And now they're trying to do what is specifically barred by the contract. There's a lot more wrong with it, but that's just for starters. That's something that's easy to understand. The thing that's strangest about it, and you'll see this if you get served, you can read it for yourself, but the whole basis for their lawsuit against these bears is because the foundation is the very deceptive practices that is part of these bears' arbitration demands in the first place. So, I mean, it's like they're going to a second court and telling the judge, hey, they're accusing me of having raped this person, but I couldn't have raped them. I murdered them. You know, it's just nuts. Anyhow, as to why 72, it's because, as far as I can tell, as far as I can tell, it looks like of the 93 who brought arbitrations, only 72 actually logged on to Patreon after the change in the terms of use, because that's the case that they're trying to make. And so the only thing that is needed from the 72 bears at the moment, if you're watching this, the only thing that the lawyers need from you is to confirm the date at which Patreon sent you the email notifying you of the change in the terms of use. We have examples that range from December 19th to late March 2020. And so it will be helpful to the lawyers as they prepare your side of the situation. It'll be helpful for them to get that in order to have all of the details precise. No, from what I've heard from the Legal Legion, these guys are not at all in the class of the people that were involved on the other side in the Indiegogo thing. Pretty sure nobody on the other side was at Harvard or Stanford. You know, say what you will about the maleducation at those universities, but you do have to be relatively smart to get into one of those schools. The same is not true of the sort of places that that these folks attended. But the main message, the main thing to take away from this is, don't worry. We're on top of it. I shouldn't say we. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not involved in that capacity. The lawyers are on top of it, and that you're going to have full support from the Dread Ilk, from Owen, from me, from all the other bears. And you know, we're not even bothering. Here's the extent to which we're not concerned. We're not even bothering to set up a legal defense fund. It's not necessary. In the extremely unlikely event it ever did become necessary, it will be done. But in the meantime, don't worry about it. Just provide your lawyers with whatever they request from you in terms of information and so forth, and just, you know, don't. This is not the sort of thing that you should lose any sleep about or be concerned about. And if you actually take the trouble to read the papers, to read the filing, then you should have a much better sense of why everybody on our side of the fence is so confident. FD says, I'm new to this, but what is this going to accomplish exactly? Well, I can't go into really too many details here, you know, even though I think I have a pretty good understanding of the whole situation. But you know, this opens up entirely new cans of worms for Patreon. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how quickly they decide that they regret taking things in that direction, rather than just simply accepting the inevitable. This is their reaction to this is their reaction to what has been happening in arbitration, which has not been generally going in their favor. And so one of the lawyers put it into perspective. He said, lawyers are like alligators. They're useless on land, but they can be dangerous in the water. The court system is the water. And so they just want to get into there basically on instinct. And the real goal, of course, is to try to delay the arbitrations. I mean, the one thing that I have to admit that is just strange about this is that this is all concerning one claim. All the arbitrations have multiple claims. So even if all the other flaws are ignored, even if for the sake of the argument you just say, okay, let's grant you this for the moment, it doesn't do any good, because all that's going to happen would be that then there will be the arbitrations continuing concerning these other matters, and then this one matter would get determined by the courts. And then there's John Beckham says, what kind of lawyers does Vox have that don't consider alligators dangerous? Really big prehistoric crocodiles. They don't consider alligators dangerous. They eat alligators for lunch. So anyhow, 60 Hertz says, why are they fighting so hard instead of settling? Well, there's a lot of reasons. The first is that they appear to think that fighting is going to cost less than giving up. They clearly don't believe the level, they clearly don't understand the level of distaste and anger and hatred people have for them because of what they did. It's kind of crazy. Their whole business is about bringing people together. So they bring somebody together with his strongest supporters, and then they attack him and kick him off. And then they expect that all those supporters that they have brought together, I mean, they know exactly how much these people support this, support the person. But then they think that you're just going to accept when they abuse their position that way. It's ridiculous. And so Eric Fountain is right. They're hoping that the Bears will back down. They're going all in. And they are already discovering that this isn't going to do them any good whatsoever, because, let me see, at last count, I'd heard that there were over 120 people who have sent notices which are a necessary precursor to bringing more arbitration demands. And none of them have anything to do with this this one little deceptive practice that they used to try to claim that these 72 arbitrations should be in courts. And and there will be, I'm sure there will be more if necessary. What they're suing the 72 for is they're suing them for a injunction to stop the arbitrations, and then to move the arbitrations, basically to tell them that they can't bring the arbitrations that they have to bring lawsuits instead. So anyhow, it's kind of nuts, you know. I mean, if they wanted to have lawsuits, all they had to do was not mandate arbitration. You know, and if they wanted to have group actions, all they had to do was not rule them out. I have no doubt that all of Owen Benjamin's backers would have been happy to simply file a single class action lawsuit against Patreon in the first place. But that's what they created the whole terms of use to avoid. And so now they're trying to get it both ways. They're trying to say, well, you have to arbitrate all this stuff, but if you happen to do this one thing that you had told us you were going to do, where we quickly changed the rules, you know, 2 weeks before you brought the demands for arbitration, then you have to go to court. I mean, it's all about avoidance. And they're trying, you know, one thing that you see about these companies, and I mean, yes, it's the lawyers who make the argument, but it's clearly the goal of the companies, is they're constantly trying to set up a system where it's, you know, heads they win, tails you lose. But that's not the way the system works. Christopher McCullough asks, in the future, will the owners of these companies bring SJWs to court for leading their companies to financial ruin? They could and they should, but they probably won't. Are the pleadings public record for us to be able to read? I believe so. If you go to the San Francisco Superior Court, you can look up the records. So A-Stet said, sounds like an ambulance lawyer tactic. I wouldn't, I mean, honestly, it's just a desperation tactic, you know. I mean, the whole they've been shrieking from the beginning about how unfair mass individual consumer arbitrations are. But not only are they fair, the California legislature has been passing new laws that are holding the corporations more accountable for these delaying tactics. Excuse me. I think I'll have another one coming. Sorry about that. So anyhow, you know, we'll play this out. I think that this will, let's see. Dark Glasses Woody wants to know if they've requested a change of venue to the autonomous zone yet. That's hilarious. So, yeah, there's a link to the court docs. You can read them. And so, and Bear Brain Schemer says, Meditations looks phenomenal. UATV 2.0 is awesome. Great feature ads. Very excited for the new Vamp Hunter comic. Apologies for the email debacle. Ego te absolvo. Overzealous on the reminders, mea culpa. No problem. Anyhow, you know, the main thing that I would say to the 72 is, welcome to the front lines. This is what it's like, you know, but you're going to be proud that you did this when it's over, and you're going to be victorious when it's over. So, you know, I would just say, you know, you have a lot of confidence in Owen, and, you know, what would it do to my reputation if I were to turn my back on you? It's not going to happen. And you can ask any of the Dread Ilk. So, you know, this is what community is for. And you know, it is better to stand with 200 people who will stand together when the pressure comes than to stand with 100,000 who are going to run at the first sign of it. And so, you know, I have a lot of confidence in all the bears. You know, one thing I've learned about the bears is that, you know, they're very different than the dread elk, and they're very different in a lot of ways. But the one thing that you can never accuse them of is a lack of courage. You know, and you know, they all know about the situation, and none of them have backed down. And so I think that this is going to be informative. I think it's going to be educational, and I think that it is going to be massively triumphant. So, anyhow, be patient. The lawyers will be in touch. Make sure that you get that information on the email notification of the terms of use to the lawyers when they get in touch with you. And you know, other than that, if you have questions, you feel free to ask Owen. You know, feel free to ask me. If we can answer them, we will. But the main thing is, you've had Owen's back. My guys have had my back. We don't run. And we definitely don't run out on the people who've been there for us. So, you know, you can talk to, there's a number of people here who were involved in the Indiegogo situation. Ask any of them if they regretted that for a minute. You know, most of the people who were Alt Hero Q backers but didn't get involved regretted afterwards not having gotten involved. So, welcome to Bronze Pack Stocky Anglo. My Shield is discussed as, what are the chances that the demonic hybrid offspring of fallen angels have created alien civilizations all over the universe? I would think fairly low, but on the other hand, maybe that's what we get to do on level 2. It's an interesting thought anyhow. Somebody mentioned I think it was Bearbrain Schemer who mentioned the meditations. So I have a little something to show you. We're going to change the subject here. So this is the meditations. This is the cowhide version, the Castelia Library version, and we just got this picture this morning, and they're going to be shipping starting next week. Unfortunately, international still can't ship yet, but they will be soon. You've got until the end of June to subscribe if you want to be able to get the Divine Comedy. Then we also have the Libraria, and the light is not great here, but you can see this is the goat skin. This is the Libraria Castalia version of the meditations, and you know, one difference is that it doesn't just have 22 karat gold on the spine. It actually has the genuine 22 karat throughout, and it's also bound in Italian goat skin. And so they've both been bound. That's the actual book. That's not the mock-up. And so if you're interested in subscribing to either Castalia Library or Libraria Castalia, Slapweasel just posted the link there. But that's what we've been working on, among other things. So anyhow, that's all I've got for tonight. So, just be prepared for all the crushing. Don't get tired of winning. We never get tired of it. And so, this is going to be good. My shield is discussed as level 2 Christianity, purging the Xenos in the name of God Emperor Jesus Christ. I love it. Unfortunately, Be Good Broadcast says that he is having to drop out of some of these things. Just keep fighting. I mean, if you have to drop out of those things, then do so. And but stay active. Stay active and involved with everybody. It doesn't cost anything to post on the blog or watch the open dark streams and so forth. And so just stay involved, because you're going to bounce back. A lot of people are going through difficult times now, and we understand that. And just don't let your spirits get down. So I never ever have anything but sincere sympathy for somebody who has to cut back on things. I've been there myself. You do whatever you need to do, and frankly, if you've been involved in Castalia Library, you can probably sell it for 2 to 3 times what you paid for it already. So just something to think about. International is still delayed. International is still, we're waiting for the foreign countries to open up to the U.S. Postal Service, which they're not doing yet. So anyhow, that's what's going on. Obviously, we will have more updates in the future. I mean, we're not going to be talking about this every single dark stream and so forth. And Working Class Bear says, I followed the directions for UA, having trouble. If you're having trouble, then you're almost certainly doing one of 2 things. Number 1, go to the correct site, https://unauthorized.tv. Don't go to any of the previous sites. Then the other thing is, when you type in your username, make sure that you don't capitalize the first letter. So anyhow, so that's what's going on. Have a good evening. We'll look forward to seeing you soon, and I will keep you updated on both the Patreon situation as well as what's going on with the library and Libraria as events indicate. I'm Voxday. This is the Darkstream.